On this week's episode, Venom makes some carnage at the theaters. It's time to play the Squid Game. And look out, bad guys, it's the New York Ninja. All this in... I always get you in my openings.
I know.
All this and more as we reach our next stop, the PCC Multiverse. And we're back with another episode of the PCC Multiverse. This is Gerald Glasser from Pop Culture Cosmos, Game Source, Inside Sports Fantasy Football, and the Lakers Fast Break. We truly appreciate everyone out there listening to all of our shows. And if you can, please give us a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts. Plus, if you can like, share, subscribe, follow, or do anything that you can to support us right here at the PCC Multiverse, the Pop Culture Cosmos, Game Source, Inside Sports Fantasy Football, the Lakers Fast Break, and Vampires and Vitae, it is sincerely appreciated. Plus, also remember, Pop Culture Cosmos on Facebook is the #1 tabletop RPG streamer that's out there. Take that, Critical Role. So if you want to go ahead, I know they just announced their season 3 and all that stuff for their next campaign. But hey, even better than that is Vampires and Vitae, because that season 2 is coming up, which is more important than Critical Role. If you want to check that out, Melinda's going to give you the information in just a sec. But yes, we are the #1 tabletop RPG on streamer on Facebook. And it is any support that we can get for it, any likes, follows, anything that you can do to help us out. It is sincerely appreciated. But it wouldn't be a PCC Multiverse without my good friend. She is the mastermind behind many of our tabletop RPG streams you can catch on Facebook, including the upcoming Vampires and Vitae, which she is so excited for. It is my good friend indeed. It is Melinda Barkhouse. And Melinda, great to have you back on the show once again.
Pleasure to be here, as always.
Yes, my fellow host indeed. In fact, she and I have got a lot to talk about. I do want to go ahead and mention that there's part 2 coming up. There's a part 2 coming up later in the program with John Orlando on the state of pro wrestling. You got a chance, if you're listening to us on the podcast outlets, and for everyone out there on radio, if you get a chance, please check out the State of Pro Wrestling Part 1 that I dropped on Wednesday. It was a conversation I did, I think, back in August with John, where we talked about where the state of pro wrestling was at that time. I thought I'd just throw it up there for kicks, and it's really done well, and I cannot thank you enough for listening out there. We truly appreciate it. I've got Part 2, which is an update on that, which is what has happened since in regards to SummerSlam, All Out, all the changes in personnel for both AEW and WWE. We'll give you a quick update on our thoughts. Has our opinions changed on the state of pro wrestling? We'll be talking about on that. We'll be talking about that on the. We'll be talking about that on the back end of the show. Plus, also as well, we've got the New York Ninja. That's right. What's the New York Ninja? I had to tell Melinda this. I had to go ahead. We got to put this on the show because it's something so crazy. Something that just was found, just this seemingly lost footage for over 30 years. Didn't have any sound to it, but they've added some sound and got it now in 4K. We'll tell you why this is going to be really a cool way to go ahead and spend a little time talking about the New York Ninja coming up later at the back end of the show. Plus also as well, we're going to talk about a lot of great things, including Marvel's What If Episode 8 as we get closer and closer to the end of that show and end of that season that's coming up here in a few minutes. We're going to talk about that with Ultron and all that coming out. So we'll talk about that coming up on the show as well. Thor 2, speaking of Marvel, the director of one of the worst movies in the Marvel Cinematic Universe really wants a Snyder Cut. So,
Yeah.
so I'm going to ask Melinda, as she's already laughing already, should every bad movie get a Snyder Cut? We'll talk about that coming up on the show later in the program. Plus also as well, what is Netflix's most popular show now around the world, and what will soon become Netflix's most popular show ever? If you haven't heard what it is, it's trending worldwide I happen to have actually caught it before it did, and I had to let Melinda know she's already checked out a little bit of it too. Why is everybody going crazy about the Squid Game? We'll tell you why coming up on the program as well. But first, Melinda, it is Venom, Let There Be Carnage. After trying to figure out a place to put it on the release schedule, they put it here, they put it there, then they moved it back, and then they moved it up. All that moving around. Guess what happens? It comes out this weekend. I think a lot of people were surprised. They didn't realize it was coming out so soon. In fact, there's been little Tom Hardy hasn't done much press for it yet. A lot of the stars haven't done any press for it yet. Sony hasn't really done a great job yet of really letting everybody know that it's coming out this weekend. The reviews just dropped this morning as we're recording this, so it's all happening at one time. I think it's still going to do okay. People are talking about a $50 to $60 million opening at the box office, which obviously during the circumstances is very good. Unfortunately, the reviews are not something that's coming in very well. Right now has a Metacritic score, I think, of 53, if I'm not mistaken.
Talk about Let There Be Carnage.
Exactly. So a lot of middling reviews. I know that I've seen no more than 5, 6s, and a 7 that's been out there so far. Not the greatest thing in the world, but again, people don't go to see many of these superhero movies to go see cutting edge, just entertainment that's going to go ahead and win an Oscar, mind you. This is something that they're going to go ahead, turn off your brain, and have some popcorn type fun. This is something that I'm really happy about in regards to Woody Harrelson, because it's just so great to see someone who, you got to remember out there, people, this is a guy who started in acting in Cheers in the early 80s, and still 40 years later almost is still not only just as relevant, but even more so appearing in all these big box office films. So I want to hear your thoughts, Melinda, on this. How do you think, Venom, Let There Be Carnage, how do you think that's going to go over with an audience? Do you think it's going to do well? I know the circumstances aren't perfect, and again, it was moved all over the place, but still, can it find a home with moviegoers?
I mean, even bad movies find homes with moviegoers. Sometimes when a movie is getting the worst reviews, you almost have to go to the movie to see if it's as bad as everyone is saying it is. And I'm unfortunately the feeling that I'm getting from all of the reviews that I've read. Also, to be fair, I would go and sit in a theater for 2 hours and watch Tom Hardy pick his nose for 2 hours. So I'm probably going to go see it, despite any of the reviews.
I wouldn't. I'm sorry. I would just give him a Kleenex halfway through. I'm sorry. You'll have to forgive me.
Well, I mean, he's read bedtime stories to me. So, me and millions of others. It wasn't just for me. That's what my therapist says. But no, I'm kidding. But the Venom movies, they kind of are what they are. Some of the reviews are kind of criticizing that the special effects make the physical actors almost seem like puppets between the big CGI scenes and stuff like that. You're going to a Venom movie, you're going to eat some popcorn, you're probably going to have some peanut M&Ms, maybe almond M&Ms, and you're going to enjoy a night out. That's really the bottom line for me. The reviews are not looking good for this one.
Yeah, you're trying to pump it up. You're just trying to still
I'm trying
it's Tom
so
Hardy
hard.
for you. Come on, you're trying to do it for Tom, so you can read you more bedtime stories. I get it. I get it. So yeah, don't tell Robbie that. But you know what? It's still something that I think is going to at least get a first wave of interest, and obviously the individuals out there that have to continually follow what's going on, even in a splintered off part of this universe, is still something that's very important to superhero fans out there, especially if you follow the Spider-Man series, because the Spider-Verse is something that's very important to Sony. Yes. And it's also important to Marvel to an extent, but this is most important to Sony because they want everything to branch off. Yes, they want to eventually get into a Sinister Six and have them fight against Spider-Man. That's a given, but they want this they want Venom to continue to go ahead and be that anti-hero. They want to go ahead and have Morbius when it comes out in January. They want Morbius to become someone that's going to connect with an audience. They want all these other individuals that are part of the Sinister Six to go ahead and have their own stories told and to be able to make money off it. So you can have this kind of Spider-Verse that branches off as a splinter off of the regular MCU and has it's still trying to relate something to the regular MCU. So I get that. I get what Sony's trying to do. It's all about the cashola at the end of the day. And because it's still not going to be the greatest in this part of the Spider-Verse, I'm still hoping it'll resonate with an audience and it won't be an afterthought. I know that hopefully, if everything's done well enough, that Woody Harrelson and Carnage can still have a life going forward in other movies in the Spider-Verse, in the Spider Realm. So I'm hoping that that will happen. But your thoughts again in regards to where do you think that this whole Spider-Verse thing can go? I mean, obviously it's going to lead to the Sinister Six at some point in time. Obviously, it's going to lead to even more movies coming out and branching off even more than what we're seeing now and with Morbius and beyond. Your thoughts on how far the Spider-Verse can go?
Honestly, Gerald, I'm going to be much better equipped to answer that question for you after I see Morbius. I'm holding out, and I'm reserving opinion until I see that one. Once I've seen that film, I think I'm going to be a little bit better equipped to answer that one for you. But I think that leading to the Sinister Six is 100% accurate. I can't imagine after we've seen and please forgive me because I know, but after the success of Suicide Squad and things like that, I think that bringing the Sinister Six only makes sense. But how far is it going to go? I don't think that I can answer that until I've seen Morbius. I don't think that going to Venom 2 is going to be enough to answer that question. I think we need to see Morbius and then we'll have an idea.
Well, Andrew Davis, he stopped by to comment on it, and yeah, he said it's because they want to maintain the ownership and film rights, of course, because
Yeah.
again, it always leads down to money. But even if Morbius and all the stuff that they're doing on the side, Venom and Carnage, don't end up making money, although the first Venom made over $700 million and it was one of the highest grossing R-rated movies of all time. Even if this doesn't quite do as well, which I don't think it will, even in a perfect climate, I didn't think it was going to go ahead and do as well as the first. You still, like you said, going to maintain the ownership rights for Sony, making sure all these characters are remaining active. In the Spider-Verse, there's actually, I believe, over 900 different characters that they go ahead and can base stories off of or base movies off of, because that's how big and that's how large and deep the Spider-Verse actually is as far as the comic book realm on the Spider-Man side. So it'll be interesting to see how Sony continues that. I'm hoping the movie quality gets a little bit better because you can only go through so many of these mediocre superhero films before people just say, you know what, I've had enough. The quality has to continue to be there. So I'm hoping Sony understands that. Marvel doesn't have a great movie every time out either. I mean, they have their turkeys just as much as anyone else does. But I think that with Marvel and Sony getting together, then they're working together as best they can. I'm hoping that they'll keep that to a minimum going forward.
Absolutely. Yeah. If we can get through the Thor movies, I'm sure we can get through a couple of stinkers on this side as well.
I'm hoping so. I'm hoping so.
Mhm.
It is going to be fun indeed, Andrew. Agree with you wholeheartedly. Make sure you check out Andrew Davis's great shows that he has. Pop Anime Comics. I know he does a great show there and has some great interviews as well coming along social media. So I want to give him a big shout out. But yes, it is Venom. Let There Be Carnage. It's right now scheduled to do between $50 and $60 million at the domestic box office. It's so funny, Melinda, because right now you've got so many movies that are out there. I mean, it just seemingly we were worried about if there was going to be any movies at one time because they were all moving to 2022. But somewhere in the world right now that's playing is, of course, Shang-Chi and the Legend of the Ten Rings, which is number one right now, the domestic box office. And now it's going to go over $200 million here domestically It's going to be the first movie this year in the U.S. that does that. So big props to Shang-Chi and the Legend of the Ten Rings. You've got Free Guy that's still earning money at the box office. Unfortunately, you have Dear Evan Hansen, which is tanking at the box office. And that's something I'm going to talk to Josh about on the Monday show in regards to the musicals that we've seen here and the abundance of them. I do want to go ahead and make sure everybody knows that Dune is out there already. And I can't wait to see Dune. I feel so jealous right now because it's playing all over the world, Melinda. It's already it's going to be earning close to $100 million already this weekend, by the end of this weekend, worldwide. And I still wouldn't have a chance to see it yet because that's not coming out until later this month. And then you've got No Time to Die, which had its London premiere this past week. So yes, just crazy. It's absolutely crazy. All these movies all over the place. I cannot wait to see a good portion of them. Melinda, I mean, does it really get you amped up to go back to the movies?
It's working. It really is. I love James Bond films, and Rob and I 100% have plans to go see that one in theaters. We're gonna go see Dune in theaters as well. We're gonna find the biggest screen we can with the loudest audio that we can find. If we can find seats that shift around and do all of that weird, wonderful, wild stuff, that's what we're gonna do for the Dune movie. That's how excited we are and how much we're looking forward to that one. It's gonna be
Well,
great.
it is going to be great. And with No Time to Die, we will be going ahead and talking about it on next Friday's show because I have another special interview for that one specifically that I already did for that show. And I cannot wait to go ahead and showcase it on that episode next week. And you
Is
and I, of
that your
course,
way of saying that you've interviewed Daniel Craig?
no. You would have known already if I would have interviewed Daniel Craig, and you would
If
have
I
just
wasn't invited to be part of that, I wouldn't
yeah,
know that we
yeah,
could be
you
friends.
would probably hit me at the kneecaps if that was the case. No, but I do have someone that's related to the Bond IP and the Bond mystique in that some way. He has actually covered the Bond library per se, and it's going to be a great interview I have coming up, and that's for next week. But for right now, it is Venom: Let There Be Carnage, and it's going to be the number one movie this weekend for the first time in several weeks that we haven't had something other than Shang-Chi and the Legend of the Ten Rings. And again, all props to Shang-Chi on keeping that number one at the box office. And when there was so many people just talking so much smack on it, so many people just wanted it to fail. And you know what? Not only did it not fail, but it's been a massive hit for Marvel. So all props to Shang-Chi. But it is going to be this weekend, Venom and Let There Be Carnage. If you have thoughts on Venom, Let There Be Carnage, we'd love to hear them. Is this a movie that you really want to go ahead and check out? Is this a movie that you're going to go ahead and say, I'm going to pass on it? Please let us know. Either which way. Are you for or against going ahead and checking out Venom, Let There Be Carnage? Please let us know. popculturecosmos@yahoo.com. Well, there's still much more to talk about on today's program. Before we get to Mr. John Orlando and the PVD cast talking about the state of pro wrestling and an update on our Wednesday special PCC Extra that we dropped on our podcast outlets. Melinda, I just saw this. It popped up on my YouTube algorithm the other day.
Uh-oh.
And this is how I got it. You get all these crazy videos every now and then talking about this stuff. And then all of a sudden I see this thing called Squid Game.
Oh.
Squid Game, that's right. And Squid Game came out, like, what is going on with this? I see all these crazy pictures and whatnot. So I clicked on it and I looked in research into it. It's a Netflix series based out of Korea. And it is something that just a lot of people have really gotten interested in. And I'll tell you how popular it is coming up. It's a story of about how these individuals that are destitute and on their last legs financially and are broke or owe a lot of money or whatnot, they're lured into this game of death in regards to these different series of challenges, and that they don't pass these series of challenges, they're killed off, literally. And it starts off with, I think, 400 and some odd individuals, and it goes down to one. And that one individual, when they wins tens of millions of dollars. So, okay, gets everybody's interest. It's not real, of course. This is all a series or whatnot. But
wait, you mean I can't apply to be on that show?
I don't think you want to. It doesn't have
Oh.
long life expectancy. But anyways, but the things you see in story as the story gets told, as the series continues, you get to see the inner workings of it, how the contestants work with each other, stuff behind the scenes from the end as far as the people who are running the game. Then also as it goes along, you see secrets being told, twists that are turned, and all that good stuff. And you know what? This reminds me so much of the fascination a lot of people had for Parasite when they came out just a couple years ago, and how that momentum for
Mhm.
that Korean project got to the point where it became a Best Picture winner. And this is something that a lot of people are so happy with. Degenerate 2018, he said it's a new age Hunger Games with a new age battle royale. In a way, it is. So I want to
Yeah.
ask you, Melinda, I will give you the response that the Netflix CEO has given after your comments on it, but I know you've had a chance to check it out. I mean, you found out about this even before I told you about it.
Mhm.
So I want to hear your thoughts about, besides, of course, you wanted to be a part of it, the
Yeah.
script.
Okay, so, um, started to watch it, one night, just randomly saw that it was number 1, so I was like, "Alright, let's hit start and see what this is all about." And we got about, gosh, maybe 12 minutes into the episode, and I turned it off, just because I was like, "Okay, this is going to be some pretty heavy stuff." And, uh, you know, we were imbibing. I'm not gonna try to cover that up. And so I was like, "Perhaps we just need to go and watch some basketball anime, and then we'll come back to this another time." So then you and I were talking about it a little bit, and last night I was like, "Okay, it's time to really dig into this one." Gerald, 6 episodes later, I was like, "The sun is coming up." I have so much makeup on underneath my eyes so I don't look like a zombie today. It's your fault. I'm blaming you 100% for this one. Um,
It's okay.
but it's so good. There's something so compelling about it. I don't know if it's the the humanity that it shows between the games, and then the
The lead
absolute,
character and the decisions he makes, really
yeah,
compelling.
very. And when you are looking at, you get the, I guess you could call them antagonists in the show. When you're looking at them, they're almost relatable because everybody is in the same kind of situation, and everybody's choices that got them to this point are all very similar. They're all money related issues.
Yeah.
Um, so it's not like, you've got a grandma who just loves her grandkids and was always fiscally responsible and things like that. Everybody has ended up here because they have made terrible decisions at some point and gotten themselves into an awful lot of trouble. So then these mysterious people show up and say, "Let's play this little game, and every time you win, I'm going to give you money. But every time you lose, something else is going to happen." And I don't want to spoil too much of it. But as soon as that started to happen, I was like, it's over. I'm in.
And
I'm
then the
already
one
hooked.
person, and then the one person who does ultimately survive this contest, this survival of the fittest per se, gets the tens of millions of dollars. And it's just amazing to see the kind of intensity and drama that's brought out. I mean, a lot of people could say this is kind of hokey when they
Yes.
watch it, but to me, it's very compelling. In fact, I think that's why it's garnered the popularity that it has, because it's compelling, it's got emotion, and it's got that car wreck mentality all at the same time. It's something that once you
Yes.
turn it on, well, you turned it off, but you had to turn it back on again, and once you did, you couldn't stop watching. Same thing
Yeah.
for so many other people. Once they turn it on, they can't stop watching. So much so that the Netflix CEO himself, Reed Hastings, he just said in an interview that this is not only the number one trending show for Netflix in the world,
Hmm.
it is going to be, in a very not too distant future, the number one show all time on downloads all over the world. It's going to be the number one
Yep.
Netflix show. And that to me if you'd have told me something like that 3, 4 years ago, I probably would have been surprised by it. But seeing how these projects that come out of Korea after Parasite and that just seemingly blew up and went viral everywhere, I'm not surprised anymore. This is something that's creative, it's outside the box, and it plays on our morbidity that we seem to enjoy. We say we want to try to avoid things like this, but no, we really just have this fascination with this kind of type series, and it does get macabre. It does get emotional. It does get into something that we just love to see other people go through, and in doing so, I think it doesn't bring out it brings out the best and worst in humanity all at the same time. And if you get a chance to see it, I think you're going to be hooked.
Yeah, it's oh, I mean, even the people who are the quote unquote not good people in the show are compelling. I so without giving away too much,
And there
I
are
saw
twists in there too. That's another
oh,
big thing.
so many twists. But I saw an unmasking last night without going into too many details. And who was behind the mask was also very surprising and made it even worse, I think, because of what the mask reveals about the people in red.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, because you're
Yeah.
always wondering about who are the individuals that are helping run these games, these horrific games, these games that prey on other people's weaknesses, these games that ultimately could end so many lives. In fact, the idea is that they will end 400 lives before you find a winner, or for more than 400 lives before you find a winner. And to me, it's something that I think again you don't really want to watch, but then you watch it and then you can't stop watching. So it's
Yeah.
something that it plays on a lot of emotions that we have as human beings, and it's really something that's ultimately very compelling. It's something that's going to be trending for quite some time. It's something that's going to be repeated by other, it's going to be remade in some form or fashion, or you're going to see it's done something similar, maybe not as well, maybe not as compelling, but you're going to see something that's copied. I mean, because you know how Hollywood is, you know how entertainment is. Something does well, everybody wants a piece of the action. So you're going to see something like this done somewhere, maybe an American version of it, maybe a European version of it, something like that. You'll see something like this done. I mean, Degenerate 2018, Jamie Monroy, he said Hunger Games. It is kind of like a darker version of the Hunger Games, but I think it goes to places the Hunger Games would never go.
I completely agree. The difference is a show made for adults and books written for youth.
Yeah, absolutely.
I think that's the kind of the distinction between the two. I think that the Squid Games definitely explores stuff that the Hunger Games perhaps hinted about, maybe whispered in dark corners, but Squid Games goes at it full steam.
So I ask you this, Melinda. I mean, now that we know that it is something that people are going to be talking about, it's just catching on. It is going viral. I saw CNN posting something on it just yesterday. Everybody seems to be getting all into the Squid Game. I want to ask you this: is this something that you're going to continuously watch if there's a season two, which is this is the most popular show now around the world, and it will be the most popular show on Netflix all time very soon? I would say season two is a safe bet. Are you coming back for season two?
Absolutely.
Because it does set
Absolutely.
itself. It does set itself up for that.
Well, I haven't gotten to the end of it yet. Again, 6 episodes in. But I think a good plan for anybody watching is going to be perhaps Friday, perhaps Saturday night. Order yourself a large pizza, get a few pops, and set yourself up in front of the TV. Hit the recline button on your chair and buckle in, because it's before you know it, the sun will be coming up on Sunday morning or Saturday morning, and you're going to be wondering, what have I just done? where did the time go? Because the show is so good. I can't even put my finger on what about it that is so good, but it's really great. And like you said, it's compelling. It touches on the best and the worst of us, and it really unflinchingly holds a mirror up to what your own decisions would be.
Yeah, I think you're exactly right on that. You've hit it right on the head. And I think people need to go ahead and check this out. It is the Squid Game. I mean, it is just truly something that is going to be what people are going to be talking about, at least for a little. It's even got more notoriety than Stranger Things. It's got more notoriety right now than Tiger King, and we all knew how Tiger King was trending, last year during the pandemic. This is something that a lot of people are really getting into, and it's the Squid Game. You're going to hear a lot more about it now. If you didn't know about it already, you are definitely going to be hearing a lot more about it in the coming days and weeks to come. This is going to be something that I think 2021 is going to be known for. Hey, you remember 2021? Oh, yeah, it had this, it had this, it had this, and the Squid Game. So, what's a Squid Game? We'll check it out because you won't stop watching. So, we want to hear your thoughts on there. We want to hear your thoughts if the Squid Game is going to be something that you have checked out or you will check out because it is Netflix's number one show now and all time. That's in the not too distant future. So it is right now the most popular show on Netflix. It is the Squid Game. What are your thoughts on the Squid Game? Please share it with us. popculturecosmos@yahoo.com. Well, coming up after the break, it is John Orlando from the PVD cast. He's stopping by for part 2 of our conversation on the state of professional wrestling as we give you an update. What's happened in recent times, and is that going to affect, in a positive or negative manner, our thoughts on the state of pro wrestling? He's going to share his thoughts right after the break. This is the PCC Multiverse. And we're back to close out the show. This is the PCC Multiverse. Want to thank so much John Orlando from the PVD cast for stopping by not only once, but twice this week on the Pop Culture Cosmos channel, wherever you get your podcasts. Belinda, before we get into Marvel's What If and Thor 2, which I never thought I would be talking about again unless it's in bad terms, because I really hated that film. It's really one of my worst choices on the Marvel Cinematic Universe, which they can read my big article on my rankings 1 to 25 on popculturecosmos.com. But Melinda, before we head on out, you've got a big weekend with Vampires and Vitae, don't you?
Oh man, do we ever? Yeah, we are gosh, how many more sleeps is it? What's the date today? Today is Thursday, so we
It's
got
the
one,
Squid
two.
Game. Just forget
Yeah, right.
Vampires of Vitae and just play. What if you change Vampires of Vitae to the Squid Game?
To the Squid Game. There might be something there. There could be something there.
All right, there could be
I
something
mean, our
there.
neighbors might call when things start to get heated up there in the backyard, but
That's
I'll think
okay.
about
You'll
it.
just knock them off like the rest of the contestants.
It's terrible. But yeah, Vampires and Vitae, we're getting excited. Well, I mean, we've been excited for the last 4 or 5 weeks about it. But it's crunch time now. We're finalizing backdrops. They're finally properly hung. We have our lighting and camera angles sorted out. We're finalizing some streaming stuff on Saturday. We are ready to go, and we are going to come out swinging. So hopefully you will tune in to check it out. Vampires and Vitae, if you're just joining, is a tabletop role-playing game. We use Vampire the Masquerade, the 5th edition of the books, which just came out this year, and it's kind of it's been a bit of a resurgence in popularity for that particular tabletop game. So we have 5 cast members this year. 3 of them are brand new to the podcast, and 2 of them are brand new to Vampire the Masquerade in general. So you'll get an opportunity to watch those players as they learn the game and get ready for some of that classic Vampires and Vitae hijinks is the word I'll use.
Well, looking forward to it. It is Vampires and Vitae. Please check it out today. Previous episodes are already available wherever you get your podcast. And looking forward for season 2 of Vampires and Vitae coming to the Pop Culture Cosmos. But before we head on out, Melinda, Marvel's What If is getting closer to the end of season 1. It's coming right now to a cataclysmic battle between the forces of good and the different forces of evil, one of which is Ultron. So I want to hear your thoughts on this. This is kind of like the Vision Ultron because it has Vision stored within the confines of Ultron as
Right.
he's creating havoc, and he has the Infinity Gauntlet that he made. So he's got all the stones there. He's rocking all the stones that in Loki we found out are can just be put under a desk and
Paperweights.
whatnot. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, right
Used
there
to
with
level chairs.
yeah, exactly. So along with that Honus Wagner, multi-million-dollar baseball card, that was a nice
Mm.
little add-on there. I remember that scene fondly because of that. So I want to hear your thoughts though on Marvel's What If. This is kind of like an Infinity War to an end game coming up for episode 9. I want to hear your thoughts on though episode 8. How is it setting up for the rest of the series, this last episode coming up next week?
Honestly, Gerald, when I watch that one, and you know that I've been a fan of everything that they've done, even the first episode, which I know that you weren't a huge fan of, but
Okay.
it was okay. But no, I'm here for everything that they're doing in What If. I love that
Party
the
Thor
creator.
was awesome. I rewatched that and I enjoyed that so much more.
Absolutely, yeah. No, I really think that they've done a great job of I don't know how to say what I mean. I want to say keeping the integrity of the Marvel universe, but this is kind of taking that and flipping it all on its head. But I've really enjoyed how they have explored these different possibilities and all of these alternate scenarios that they've brought in. It's really been enjoyable, and it's been a really fun ride, and at the end of the day, that's all that you need to ask for from your entertainment. Was it fun to watch? This has been fun to watch. I personally think that it's been a wonderful success and a great addition to the Marvel universe.
I gotta agree with you. I didn't think I was gonna say that at the beginning. In fact, I said about 2 weeks before it started that I didn't think it was going to be necessary watching. Then as it started, I thought, well, this actually kind of has to be necessary watching because Captain Britain was going to be someone that will be transferred over. Haley Atwell will probably at some point don the tights as Captain Britain at some point. They got to pay that off in a live action setting. Some of this, what they're doing at What If, they said they would. They said it would
Yeah.
transfer over. So at some point you're going to see it. But right now, for what they're doing at the end of this season and the fact it's already been greenlit for season 2, just tells you the kind of confidence they have. I didn't really get on board 100% at first because the animation style was kind of like, doesn't look the greatest. The plots and things of that nature was, all right. But the King T'Challa as Star-Lord episode started to really get me hooked in. And then
Hmm.
it's pretty much been good throughout. I love the Marvel Zombies. I thought that was a really solid episode. I know people are like, okay. And then there are other episodes. The Doctor Strange episode I thought was really compelling. The Party Thor really is what sold me on the series. That episode it was kind of fun. It was campy, but it also made you think at the same time. Really, a what if scenario if that had been the case. So, but it also showed a lot of personality, and it seemed like the voice actors, which most of them were the actual characters from the actual actors from the MCU, actors and actresses from the MCU, just really enjoyed what they were doing. It sounded more like what that they enjoyed what they're doing. Some of the early ones they look like they're just reading and they're bored that they're there, i.e. Sebastian Stan. But some of them just really sounded like in this latest episode with Party Thor, and then also now with Ultron that they're really starting to get into it. They're really seeing the outcome of it, and I'm glad for Marvel that they have another series that they can count on for people to watch next year when season 2 comes out.
Absolutely, I agree. And I know that the what if stuff definitely has its detractors. And that's fine. You don't have to watch the show, but uh, for me, it's been a fun kind of retake on some of the stories that we've come to love so much. So it's been a lot of fun to watch, and that's all I ask.
Speaking of retakes, Alan Taylor, director of Thor 2,
No, I
The
can't.
Dark World, The Dark
No, I
World.
can't. No, I can't.
Okay, he was recently in the news
Yeah, he was.
Why? He wants to do a what if. What if Thor
No.
2, The Dark World, had its own Snyder cut? Because that's what he was, I'm paraphrasing now, but he basically in this interview said that he wanted to go ahead and have his own Snyder cut or retelling, extended version of Thor 2 that he feels would make it so much better than where it stands now in the pantheon of the MCU, which many of I'm not alone in thinking that Thor 2 was really at the bottom of the barrel for the MCU. There's a lot of other people who think the same thing. So he knows it and he's heard about it now for almost 10 years. So be
Right.
that as it may, I want to hear your thoughts, Melinda. I mean, the first thing that comes to mind is should this film get a re-look-see as a Snyder cut? And then we'll get into the larger question of doing this as a habit and a practice. So before we get into that larger question, the smaller question is should Thor 2 get a Snyder cut?
No.
You sounded so unsure of yourself there. I'm kidding. I'm
Right.
kidding.
No, and I apologize. I'm a little bit biased on this one because I didn't enjoy the Thor movies. They were my least favorite, and that breaks my heart because I love Thor. I love Hemsworth. I love the concept around it all, but there was just something about the movies that just didn't do it for me, and I'm not sure what it is. Is a recut gonna save it at this point for me? No.
I don't think
And
it's going to do it for
why?
anyone.
No, and why? If you have a better movie in the can, why is that not the movie that you released in the first place?
Well, we
Why
all
are
know
you
the
going to try
we all know the situation with Zack Snyder. He
to
had to
sure.
leave. Obviously the death of his daughter, the suicide death of his daughter, caused that, and obviously no one will argue with that. And we've seen the Snyder cut now after what Joss Whedon did to it, and we've seen the Snyder cut. And the Snyder cut, by most people's opinions, is so much better. But with Thor 2, nothing prompted Alan Taylor to leave that project early. He made this on his own, and he's probably going to tell you that maybe Marvel only told him to go ahead and do this and do that and do this and do that. But
Of
he had
course.
must have had some control over his own film, and I don't know
Yes.
how much extra footage in the world will make that a much better movie.
Gosh, I just don't think it's necessary, honestly. I think that ugh, I I don't even have words, Gerald. I just don't even have words. Like why are you going to make us sit through this movie again and the fixes for it to me would require like an entire rewrite of the script. Like you've got to go all the way back to the beginning, in
Yeah,
my opinion, which could be wrong. I've been wrong about things before, and I'm not afraid to admit that.
you're not
But
wrong.
my gosh, a recut is not going to save this one. I'm sorry, Mr. Taylor, but a Taylor cut is not going to cut it.
The second question I have for you is, I mean, when you talk about a lot of these movies, these large budgeted, big action movies that don't connect with an audience, that they do tank and they do bomb. I mean, the Ayers cut for the Suicide Squad has been talked about now since the Snyder cut became a hit, and David Ayers wants to go ahead and have his own Ayers cut. I mean, let's talk about something this weekend that didn't get the critical response that a lot of people were hoping for, but it still might do well at the box office. Let's take Venom, Let There Be Carnage. Should there be an Andy Serkis cut because he's the one that directed this? Should he get a new Serkis cut because of that? I mean, every bad movie should we, because there's extra footage on virtually every movie that's been made, in the past 20, 30 years. Should we get an extra cut of all these movies just because they were bad? And would that necessarily make them better? I'm going to say for 99% of these movies, no, it would not make them any substantially. It would not make them substantially better.
Right. Yeah, I agree. And I think that the Snyder cut, they got away with it for all of the reasons that you mentioned. But when you sit down and you look at the Alan Taylor situation, you're just like, dude, no. No. You don't need that. You haven't earned it. You I don't have words, Gerald. It's not necessary. Please don't. Because
I
then I'm
get
going to
it.
have see another Thor movie, and I just don't like them.
So Thor: Love and Thunder is not going to be on your favorite list coming up next year.
Probably not. I'll go see it, but it's probably not going to make my top 5 list change at all. So
There you go. But again, what are your thoughts out there? Should Thor 2, A Dark World, Thor 2, The Dark World, should that be given a Taylor cut? A Snyder cut like extended release, something that will change in what he thinks would change the entire scope of how everybody sees that movie, which is not exactly the most beloved in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. But we want to hear your
I have
thoughts. Go ahead.
sorry, I have my positive take. If they do extended scenes and extended cuts and stuff like that, it's more time to nap.
Oh my
It's
gosh.
perfect.
What are your thoughts out there on a Taylor cut of Thor 2, The Dark World? Please share us your thoughts. popculturecosmos@yahoo.com. Well, Melinda, it's been a great episode, but one last thing before we head on out. And, I love these little quirky things that happen in pop culture, which just pop out seemingly out of nowhere, out of nowhere, that nobody asked for. And just it's so funny because a movie just is going to come out. It's a 1984 movie that was filmed by martial arts actor Jean Liu,
Mm-hmm.
and John Liu, and it was his only American production, and for whatever reason, I guess maybe it's financing or something happened that the project was just abandoned. He had the video for it, he filmed it, and just before it became a finished product, it just got abandoned. Well, 35 years later, I mean, not yeah, about 35 years later, it just this project, this film has been uncovered, and it's been just thought of as, hey, we're going to go ahead and get this movie finally out until an audience can see it. It's a quirky action kung fu with all the tropes in there, comedy. It's supposed to be quirky. It does not look like it's going to win any Academy Awards anytime soon. Let's just get that out of the way. But it's supposed to be one of those almost like Jackie Chan style movies from that period of time when he was just starting to get his fame. But this is something that was done with John Liu in the title role. And one thing though, they had the video for it and they restored it to 4K, but they didn't have the audio. So they re-recorded all the vocal acts on it. But the thing is, they did it with individuals, many of which people would know from those days in the 80s when kung fu movies were really on both, all over the world, were really popular. So we've got individuals like Don the Dragon Wilson, Cynthia Rothrock, bringing her back to do this as a voice character on it. So it just really rocks. It's a story about a guy who's working for the news station. His pregnant wife gets murdered, so he goes on a rampage and just seeks his vengeance as New York Ninja. It is totally campy. It is something that people are going to probably laugh at more than be just like entranced by. But it does showcase again a lot of that quirky, campy, low budget film fun and charm of those 1980 movies. Your thoughts? Do you want to go ahead and become a New York Ninja?
Yes.
Right.
I
But you
can't
got a
wait.
chance to check out the video and the concept, right?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. I watched what you sent me yesterday, and I am so here for it. It's almost embarrassing. I love B movies from the 80s. Oh
This is a B
man, they're
movie.
so good. Oh, it's like a D movie, but it's going to be spectacular, campy, fun, and just I cannot wait. I am going to watch this one, and I am going to have to have some of like my dad's favorite snacks, because that's what my dad and I used to do together all the time, was sit down and watch the cheesiest possible like sci-fi fantasy kung fu movies, all B-level movies. And that was just the thing that we loved so much together, and it was really something that we shared. So the fact that this is coming out, like, I have goosebumps. I'm so excited for this
Well, the
movie.
charm in this one, and we talked about this a couple weeks ago with B movies involving stars like Morgan
Yes.
Freeman or
Yeah.
Bruce Willis, or you'll see a lot of name actors when you pass by the red box. This
Yes.
has a different feel because it's a total B campy movie that was made in the 80s,
Yeah.
and it's going to me it's just going to have and embrace that charm from that
Yes.
era. And
It
that's
doesn't even bat an eye about it. It
yeah.
embraces it.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
it's just something totally different than what you're seeing when you pass by and see all those. Hey, I didn't know that Superstar was in that movie that just came out. It's just I didn't know he was in that movie. I never heard of that movie. That's because it went straight to video. There's a difference between this movie and those movies, I think, because it just those movies are sent to die. Those movies are sent to Redbox, or they were sent back to the video stores just to die, whatever they can get, and then you're done with it because it just wasn't going to appeal to a mass audience. This was campy fun. That was just something that it was going to be intended to just run in a few theaters and be something that was long since forgotten. But the thing was, it was long since forgotten, but now it's been remembered, and now it's been restored in 4K, and now it's been given all new voice acting from some of the most popular stars of that era. This is going to be a really cool thing, and I can't wait to check it out.
Yeah, I can't wait either. I'm sorry, Gerald, I can't remember. Is it going into theaters, or is it like a straight to TV situation?
I'm checking out the article now, and it seems like it's going to be a limited release. I don't think it's going to be something that's going to be shown in too many theaters. It is going to be at Film Fest, and then it's going to be out on video on demand and DVD later this fall, and hopefully on Blu-ray because it's been recreated. It's been redone in 4K. So I'm assuming at some point it'll be also a Blu-ray release as well. So it's mainly going to be caught for most people out there on video on demand, but this could be another situation, and I'm hoping so, like Squid Game, where it goes viral and people just have to see it.
Absolutely. What I'm getting, Gerald, is I'm sensing a pop culture cosmos multiverse watch party slash everybody get your popcorn and let's sit down and watch this movie together, and we'll just have some laughs and just enjoy the cheese. I'm so excited.
I'd love to do that. So maybe
Yeah.
we can arrange that. Maybe we can even sneak that into a recording somehow or stream it. So
Oh, yeah,
maybe we can
somehow,
do
yeah.
that. Yes, and cut
Mhm.
and cut jokes along the way as only we can. But I want to hear your thoughts out there on everyone. Are you going to go ahead and check out this blast from the past, New York Ninja? It's a movie coming out later this year to video on demand and DVD. I hope you get a chance to, because again, it embraces that campy 1980s B movie magic that I think is rarely repeated today. So
Oh my
we
god,
want to hear
I'm
your thoughts.
tearing up. I'm so excited about it.
There you go. There you go, indeed. So we want to hear your thoughts on New York Ninja. Do you want to be a New York Ninja? Please let us
Yes.
know. Popculturecosmos@yahoo.com. Well, Melinda's already. She's going to go get the outfit on right now after the show. But Melinda, it has been a great pleasure having you on as always. I love talking about all these fun projects that are coming up. It's always fun talking about the Squid Game, New York Ninja, just all this good
Mhm.
stuff that's coming out. That's different, that people are
Yes.
talking about, and that's always good for pop culture. Any last thoughts on the way out?
No, Alan Taylor, it's not necessary.
I think that's all that needs to be said on that. So for Melinda Barkhouse, this is Gerald Glassford. It's another beautiful day in paradise right here in the PCC multiverse. We thank you for listening. And here's hoping you have yourself a great